If our podcast is helping you with your mental health, Zach and I would be so grateful if you could hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. It's a simple action, but it really helps a lot. Thank you. On the first day I walked into Zach's therapy room in my hometown of Dublin, Ireland, I was one seriously lost dude. I had no direction and no real knowledge of what I needed from life. Zach told me that he'd help me to find my authentic self, whatever that meant. 3 years later, I had made some serious changes, and Zach even helped me to get sober.
When I first met Stephen, he was a very lost soul, and I wasn't even sure to what degree the platform of therapy could help him. What followed was a journey to which I had the privilege to be part of, as I watched this young man dig deep and disrupt his old behaviours and beliefs. He eventually walked out of my room a changed man, and I believe he did find a more authentic self.
So despite all of my healing and growing, it's not over, because I'm back for more. This is one man
and his therapist.
Well then, let's start. Morning, Stephen.
Morning. Morning.
Good afternoon, or
Yeah.
Happy New Year, Happy Christmas. Where are we?
Yeah. Did you say where am I?
Yeah, I just said, where are we at? I suppose, not just figuratively. It's been about 3 weeks since we spoke, maybe a little bit more. So why don't you give me just a sort of a helicopter quick overview of life over the last number of weeks, how you've been?
Well, I've had some amazing times since we last spoke. Last time we spoke, I was in Sicily and really found great peace there. Amazing trip coming back. We got a boat up the side of Italy, and I just looked back in my journal there, and I saw an entry from the boat which said, "I'm on a boat, a big boat in a cabin with my wife and my dog. Without my sobriety, I would have none of this, none of it. I am grateful." And yeah, that was a really special time. And then we drove through Italy, north of Italy, Slovenia, which is an amazing place that we've driven through before but never stopped. So we stopped there in Ljubljana, which is the capital of Slovenia. We were amazed by that place. It's really, really beautiful place. And then, yeah, I've been back here, I don't know, 2 weeks, something like that. And I've been I've been really struck by the whole I'm familiar with this idea, but it's really become very clear to me since I came back here, however much I like it here in many ways. This idea of place being like having such a profound impact on the human psyche and soul, whatever word you want to use. I'm so affected at the moment by this place, and I recognize that, when I left here for the time in Sicily, I felt a lot lighter, and obviously the weather helped, but just the way of life there, and I feel like sucked down here sometimes, and so yeah, today, just that's kind of recapping. So I've been pretty good. I've been working very hard, trying to get everything done before Christmas, and today I am like a shit, like a fucking shit, and and I'm fucking horrible, and I was horrible to Rebecca earlier. I'm so pissed off, even though, like, it's interesting though, because I can see how good my life is, and I can see that everything's going to be fine, and I can see that I have a lot to be thankful for, and I actually feel those things. Like, it's not like I'm in a really dark place, but I'm really fucking cranky.
Yeah.
And like, like little things are like, and these are all first world problems, but like for example, we live next to this very beautiful old church. Like, literally, you look out of our apartment onto this. It's the highest. I read this today. It's the highest medieval church tower in all of Romania. It's beautiful, but there's a problem with crows. So there's all these crows on the trees outside our apartment, and I'll take the crows any day compared to what they've just put in, which is this fucking sound of a fucking eagle going every like 30 seconds outside our window. I'm like, are you fucking having a laugh here? You realize people live here. And then they clean the streets here at like 4:30 in the morning. So the last couple of nights I've been woken by a guy cleaning the streets in these machines. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I woke up at 3:30 today and I hardly went back to sleep.
Huh.
So yeah, there's a good recap for you.
Yeah, indeed. Fake eagle sounds and garbage men at 4 and 3 in the morning. Wow.
Yeah.
Something just struck me as you were speaking. And I hear your crankiness, okay, cranky is what is, your cranky morning, that's fine, we're okay with that. But you were talking about the boat, and without my sobriety, I wouldn't have this. Here's a thought. And I hope it doesn't take us off your agenda today, but just while it's on my mind, let me just throw it out there. It might be part of the mix of today's conversation. I meet a lot of people in my work who, on their journey of sobriety, their sober journey is far more beige than yours. They enter sobriety while trying to get back to their relatively beige job. And with no disrespect to Ireland, but often maybe their beige location, their beige environment, where they're not in their sobriety, they're not traveling the world, they're not seeing iconic structures, they're not watching sunrises in exotic places. All things that you have manifested for yourself and created through your creativity and your courage, and of which every moment of it you deserve. But it just struck me that maybe your journey of sobriety is maybe not made easier for the colourfulness of your life, but certainly different. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts around how you would fare living your sober life in a more typical beige world?
I think elements of it I would probably be very fine with. Like one thing I lack and I desire more of being my own boss is routine. So like, one thing I did enjoy when I was in like, jobs where I had a boss was I have to be there at that time, even though like I hated it, I resented it at the same time. I hated people telling me what to do. I hated rules, but there's something about routine that I do love and thrive in. But other than that, I think that I think I would find it very difficult because I love the fact that I love the way my life is going. That like I have this ability of freedom of movement. I love to not know like what's coming in the future. I love to not have my life, to see my life stretched out in front of me and for it to be pretty predictable. I suppose, when you're a kid and you imagine what your future life might be like, and like it's so exciting to have that idea of like, oh, maybe I'll live there or whatever, and then as you get older, I guess those things start to fall away as things become clearer. But for me, I still have that to an extent. I still have that like, I don't know where I'll be in a year. I don't know where I'll be in 10 years for sure. Someone who lives in, I don't know, Skerries and has a job in the bank. I mean, no disrespect to someone living in Skerries who has a job in the bank. If it's for them, great. But they probably know they're going to live in Skerries and retire from the bank and then stay living in Skerries. Cool. But that's not for me. I'd go fucking insane.
Yeah. And you feel as if it would make sobriety more difficult.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore you found and you have created the most effective recovery model for you.
For me,
this is the model that works for you. Keep it fresh, keep it exciting, keep shaking up the snow globe. And that way you can live the best version of your life?
Yeah, well, I get high on life now,
Hmm.
when I'm out exploring, and I get high from my work. Don't get me wrong, like since I came to Romania, like I've hardly been living the life fandango. Like I've been
Hmm.
working my balls off for a year and a half to try and own a property. I mean, I do own a property, but to try and restore it, and it's been incredibly dull for a lot of the last year and a half. But I always have that thing in my mind of I can go whenever I want, I can go wherever I want. Um, so yeah, but and I've been getting high off my work. That's been giving me the high, and also at times my relationship. Although lately, the last year and a half, it's been very very tough. But thankfully, we found each other again in Sicily.
Excellent. And you also mentioned recently with me that you also are getting a certain high of money and the earnings and watching the bank balance grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you further thoughts on that? The kick of the finances. That little high that comes with that ping in the bank account. That rising number. Where are you at with that now?
Well, I think that I think I was kind of half dwelling on it recently, and I think that what it signifies to me is that I'm out of balance, in terms of where I am in life, in terms of relationships, and having fulfillment in areas that actually really matter. Um, because if I'm sitting at a dinner party or whatever with a couple of friends here in Romania or wherever else, I'll often drift off to my work and to the high that it gives me, and I'll start thinking about that, and I'll probably end up talking about it, even though someone doesn't want to listen to me talk about it, or maybe they do. But like, I find it highly fascinating. But most people probably don't attach so much to their work or to money or whatever. Um, so I know that I know I need what I need, Zach, is to be more in community and to be more rooted in strong friendships and to be more around people, and to be, yeah, because it's become an obsession. It's become an obsession, and it's not healthy, and it is like another alcohol for me, like I said to you before.
It's certainly I don't know about another alcohol. I mean, it certainly is something else.
It's something else, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another alcohol is to suggest it has a danger level similar to that of alcohol, which I
No.
don't believe is true.
No, if
Uh,
anything, it's very good for me, but
yeah, I mean,
like, but
you know,
but it's throwing me out of whack.
yeah. But just, I think, with all due respect to your hard work of sobriety, and the toxic and destructive nature of alcohol, um, we won't. Let's agree it's not another type of alcohol, um, because nothing's like that. But yeah, I hear you. Another high, another chase, another distraction, or obsession. You're calling it obsession. By the way, I think people in the creative field um, over-identify with their work role, as a an identity piece of who they are. I
Okay.
think it's the nature of the work. Would you agree?
Well, so yeah, certainly for myself, I would, and yeah, from people I mean, yeah, for years I've encountered people, and it's very much, yeah, actors that I know. It's who they are, and it's all
Mm.
they talk about, and yeah.
It's that separation between work and self. It's very difficult for someone, any type of artist, I think, and also as well. I meet people who have beige jobs as well, and they can over-identify with their work role as a compensatory mechanism to an imbalanced life.
Hmm.
Um, but you talk about being at the dinner party and drifting off, stimulating yourself and thought with the ideas of your fascinating work, and then trying to rope it into the conversation of which you sort of that impartial observer in you knows maybe they're not into this as much as I am. But yeah, I agree that people are more fascinated generally with themselves than they are those around them. Or at least when we're socializing, we are thinking about ourselves a lot. A lot. There's a quote by a man called Dr. Amen, who many, many years ago was giving a lecture to psychology students in Belfast, and he was talking about paranoia. And he said, when you're 20 years of age, you worry about what everyone thinks of you. When you're 40 years of age, you don't give a damn what anyone thinks of you. And when you're 60 years of age, you realize no one's really been thinking of you at all. If anything, if they are thinking about you, they're thinking about what are you thinking about them. So we know people think about themselves. That's okay. You think about yourself. But you said, I'm out of balance. So in order to know that you're out of balance, you have to know what balance is. And you're saying, for me, balance is community dynamic with people and having more of that than what you have now. Am I right in hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, and I say it, but like, there's a difference between saying it and really feeling it. I say it because I feel like that's probably one of the answers to what I need. However, it's equally possible that because I have this kind of funny old head that I've, referred to myself as a weirdo a few weeks ago, like, like maybe the answer for me isn't to be around lots of people, but I'm listening to the outside world telling me, my wife in particular saying, you need more friends, you need to be more social. And I get that,
Well, you hear that,
mm.
you sort of agree with that. You're not sure because probably you haven't immersed yourself more into that sociability yet. And I
Frankly, I
suppose,
get very tired of people.
okay, yeah, tell me more about that.
I only need people in small doses. Like, that's really my truth,
Right.
I used to love, like, it's funny, my wife and I were just talking about, um, this, who I used to be in the past, and how, I used to feed off being around people so much because I was drinking, and I'd love to be in the pub and meet strangers, and, I could spend hours fascinated by them, fascinated by the words coming out of my mouth. It was all fascinating, all lubricated by alcohol. And also youth, and it was a
Mm.
beautiful mixture of recipe pot of fantasticness going on, um which, obviously then the nights might not end fantastically, but there were moments of fucking amazingness when I was so ignited by the power of human connection. But I've got older, I've got sober, and I just don't find, I love human beings. I think we're an amazing species when we're at our best. When we're at our worst, we're a fucking pile of shits, and we shouldn't exist, frankly. Um, but at our best, us as a species, we are phenomenal, and there's no part of me that doubts that, and there's no part of me that doesn't want to be involved in that to an extent, but only to an extent, to be frank. And then
Mm.
I want to withdraw. Um, I don't need this, hours of talking with other human beings. I just don't need it. I mean, I'm more than happy to engage for an hour or two, and then I'm done. Like, generally, that's my max, and then I'm like out.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really, really close friend and it's a walk in nature. And even in that sort of situation, I'll take a break from talking for a long period of time, because what are you going to keep talking? Like, I think I've done enough talking in my life. I've done enough listening. I'm not saying I'm done with that, but it's just, I can only do it in small doses. And
Yeah.
I think that's just who I am.
And I think what you just described is quite typical. I hear a lot of people talk in a similar way about themselves and their tolerance level and their, their timeline of attention to other people. So you're not too far off the sort of the typical group really with that.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I just say back in the day with lubrication of alcohol, well, to facilitate more drinking, the brain will make up lots of unreasonable reasons to just stay another hour, listen another while, engage a little bit more, all for that purpose of keeping the alcohol flowing. And as you say as well, that the alcohol creating and sprinkling its fairy dust over what could be average conversations and making them that much more fascinating. Very, very powerful, powerful substance.
The,
So, yeah.
the one thing I would say is, because I don't want to sound arrogant or not that I don't want to sound anything, but it's like I don't want to be ignorant of the fact that what I value most in human connection is either being able to be of service to another human being with what I might know, or B, learning from another human being about something I hadn't really explored in my own brain, and my own existence being further deepened and whatever, accentuated, or whatever word you want to put on it, by that interaction. And I'll give you an example of something actually that happened last week. I was in my local cafe that I go to for my coffees every day, really, or a quick lunch next to my studio. And there's this lovely young guy who works there, and he's got a kind of a creative soul. And we work. I know that he really connect. We just connect, you just connect with people. And he's only maybe, I don't know, 23, 24, something like that. And I called him over. I said, I won't say his name, but I said, come over here. And he was quiet. It was a quiet time at his work at that point. So he was able to sit down with me, and I said, listen, straight away, I didn't say no politeness. I said, listen, I see you. I see you more than you think I do. And I know that you don't want to be working in a restaurant for the rest of your life or anything like that. But all I can say to you is, don't let the present get to you too much, because I know that what you have in you, you will achieve if you work towards it every day, a little bit every day, and not even every day, most days. Keep working a little bit every day towards where you want to be, and you're going to get there. And he was almost in tears when I just came out with this very honest thing, and he was like, "Thank you so much, Stephen." And I was like, "Oh, it's like," and I just said, "Look, I've been through a lot in life, and now it's my job to pass it on, to try and help others if I can." And in that moment, I just felt really like a powerful surge of, I have to say this to him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that type of connection really matters to me.
Oh, wow. I mean, most wouldn't have the courage to call him over, but that's your personality. You're very brave that way. That's not really a big deal for you, where for most others they would just be socially so awkward with that. But that's great, because that's in your nature. And then you held tight and you gave him that pitch, you gave him the speech. You essentially said, "I believe in you."
Mm-hmm.
Then that's what you told him, really, in your own way. That's what I hear. And he was nearly tearful. So, so that landed with him so powerfully, the blessing, the gift you gave him in that moment. Wouldn't it be nice to be doing something like that regularly for other people?
Yeah. I mean, I was so filled up by it, and that's why I miss home.
Well, okay, yeah, okay, and I won't disregard that bit, but I'm just going to stay with the idea of serving others, because you said two things. You said, I'm missing, serving other people, and being, did you say inspired by others? Was that the second thing you said a few moments ago? I want to be inspired by
others.
Learning from others, yeah. So just to stick with those two bullet points for a moment, I'd love you to give some, during the holidays ahead, give some time to how you might serve your community in the best way. I don't think it's necessarily being a sponsor for an AA member. It doesn't have to be that. That would seem maybe a little bit typical, a little bit standard. I think the coffee shop example is lovely, but have a think about how you might contribute and give back and inspire. Have you got any initial thoughts on that right now, just to throw on the table, or do you want to have contemplation time on that one over the time ahead?
I have initial thoughts, but the problem is that because of my geography situation, I could be either here or in France next year, in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, I have a few thoughts about here, what I could do. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. In our conversations, do you ever feel inspired by things I say?
Of course.
Okay, right, and I'm in Dublin, so geography doesn't come into it. You can be of instant support to people through your phone or your computer screen. Remember that.
Okay.
And I think that's the point you were making. Although maybe when you said geography, you were making reference just to your own jumping about or your own movements. I'm not sure. Am I picking that up right?
Yeah, you're picking it up right. Yeah.
Okay. So, don't be restricted by the idea of your geography. Just think how, and don't work out how to do it, but just work out in principle, how is it I would like to inspire? So you might start with, I want to lecture to large groups. I want to talk to 16-year-olds in their classrooms. I want to, whatever. Think of, just stir up the ideas of what would really, really shake up your snow globe and excite you. And then your brain will just work out all the details. Then you'll just peel it back and you go, well, to do that, I need to do A, B, C. You'll work it out. So just stay with the fun, creative end goal ideas of what would do it for you. And let's have a conversation about that further another day, because I think it's important.
Great.
And then, the other point was, being, connecting with others, learning from other people. Well, I know I learned from you, which is part of the reason we have this working relationship, because I really like working with clients who teach me. And that's very important to me, because that's something then I pass on. And it's all about passing on the baton of information. It's all about that share of knowledge, insight, love, care, all of that. And the most important thing I can do in my work is to, at the front of the queue of my thinking each day, is to remember to keep learning for myself and therefore for others. So I learned from you. I know you learned from me. I don't have to ask you that because you've mentioned that a number of times. Do you learn from Rebecca?
Yes.
Yeah. Without going into finite detail, give me the theme, or give me the type of things you learn from her. How does she sort of?
Well, I could
what
go.
type of spotlight does she put on your world?
I think I mentioned it before, but she's like she's just she's a deeply good person, and she generally is very, very slow to let me think how to phrase it. She doesn't tolerate anger, and I love that about her. In a way that it's when it's unjustified, she doesn't tolerate shouting, unless I don't know when shouting's she doesn't tolerate it. She's very, very humble. Her family, her wider family, inspire me as well so much with their humility. They don't do bigging themselves up. Yeah, Rebecca teaches me kindness, random acts of kindness. She shows me how just keeping others in her thoughts, just, with it's just so natural to her. So there's so much I learned from her.
And when you say, she doesn't tolerate anger,
Mhm.
so she doesn't tolerate your anger.
No, but when I said that out loud, I was like, maybe that's not a completely good thing, because maybe anger is sometimes necessary. But there, I know when it's necessary and when it's not most of the
Yeah.
time. And sometimes I'm just, I need to be held back, or not held, I sound like a madman, but I need to be, I need to be subdued or
Yeah.
even, you know what I mean? I need to be
Well,
told how things are and to calm the fuck down, basically.
all right. But let's remember, the opener was, I need to learn from other people. So by you stating that she doesn't really accept disproportionate anger or tantrums or, acting out behavior that's, whatever, indulgent or whatever it might be. What are you learning from her in that? What's the message? What is the learning?
Well, I mean, I think the word is temperance. Maybe it's
Mm.
that that I don't need to be. I found an ability to say sorry since I've been with Rebecca much quicker, to simmer down much quicker. I'm learning to simmer down, to just recognize that in this moment, this anger, this rage, this whatever word you want to put on it, is not necessary. It needs to pass, and
Okay.
it's very hard to get around that because I'm incredibly stubborn. So kind of she's definitely chiseled away at the kind of stubborn block that existed in my brain for most of my life. And instead of a tantrum, or I don't know, I'm keep using words that make me sound very you know out of control. It's not, they're the wrong words, but instead of something lasting hours, it'll last only a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And have you a sense of what you teach her?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, I it's tricky to put into words,
Yeah.
but I suppose at at a shot, I suppose I would. I mean, there's a 10-year age gap, so I think she learns from me, like, just ways to be in the world in a certain way that is a bit more adult, and kind of owning her shit a bit more. Um, she's also an aspiring actor, so I help her in that way. In terms of, I don't know, in terms of kind of virtues and things like that, I don't know. We have a lot of. I think that I'm learning more from her than the other way around, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's swings and roundabouts. I mean, at different phases of your relationship, it will swing left and right in favor of or against, learning or more learning, one to the other.
I think she's been inspired by my kind of way of uh, looking inward.
Right.
She's in therapy now as well, and she won't shut up about it. And
Leave her alone. It's okay. Therapy's great.
um, so yeah, like she's always coming up with like revelations about herself and her childhood and blah blah blah, and I'm like, cool. So like, obviously I'm very engaged most of the time in that, and I guess that's something she has taken from me, that kind of and the realization that maybe things that we are presented with as children and in our young adult years, they're not quite as maybe what our parents might present them as, or she's learned to question more.
Yeah. I was asked recently by a client who was engaged to be married. And he said, he asked me, he said, have you any advice about a successful marriage? Of which I gave him the honest answer and said, look, there's so many elements that we could discuss here. There's no real one bullet point, one line, or one soundbite I can give you. But if you'll forgive me and allow you just one soundbite, I said to him, make sure you champion each other, always.
Mm.
And I think to champion each other is, for me, vitally important in close friendships, but in particular with life partners, because there's so much more at stake with each other. When you marry or when you commit to each other, you take risk. You're giving over the vulnerability of your future and your journey, at least partially, to another person. And they're doing the same with you. So to champion each other, to hold each other up, to egg each other on, to poke, encourage, applaud, cheer, as much as possible, I think is vital. It's a vital piece.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Before you guys met, in the early phase of your life, in the early stages, who was your champion back then? Who championed you?
Well, I have to say the first name that comes to my brain, the first word is mum, my mother.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was her way of doing that?
Well, she she probably like to my mother, like, I'm the second coming. Um so like, at least that's how I perceive it. Um but yeah, no, she just, I mean, it was just always giving me confidence, telling me I'm doing really good and blah blah blah. Um yeah, it was that kind of thing. It was just, and I always remember her speaking to others about me as well, and saying, and actually I think it was, and Rebecca and I were speaking about this recently. It can be, it too much of that is a bad thing, and well, I certainly felt that, I had a bit of a thing where I felt I was a bit special.
Yeah.
And actually the first time I remember that being kind of, I suppose, challenged, that idea in my head, was when I went to drama school in London, and I was around all these other very exceptional young people, and I was like, and all this attention was going on so many of them, and I was like, hey, where's the attention on me? And
Yeah.
I was very used to the attention being on me. So yeah.
I suppose that's at least in part due to being an only child.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, and in part to do with the champion behaviour of your mum, who would have given you, as you say, a lot of encouragement. But isn't it great to be thrown out into the world and be in drama school amongst others who all think they're as good, if not better, than you? And
Yeah.
taking on that challenge.
There's certainly a lot of good to be taken from that way of being brought up, but yeah, I certainly could have done with a dose of humility back then as well, because it was very much like, extremes in my brain. It was like, I'm fucking amazing, or I'm less than the piece of shit on the bottom of your shoe. Like, it was really strong in either way, and obviously with alcohol, it just propelled both of those things way further
Indeed.
in one way and the other.
So before alcohol ever came into your world, into your life, that seesaw of extremes, that I am amazing or I'm a piece of crap, those extremes you talk about, that was in you anyway. That was part of your struggle way before alcohol.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah.
And since alcohol, right up to now, when you look at that seesaw, those extremes that you talk about, that very polarized thinking, where are you now with balance in comparison to that imbalance in your origins? How improved is that now?
Yeah, I mean, it's Yeah, I think, like when I started working with you, one of the big things we started to work on initially was kind of negative self-talk and recognizing my thoughts. And I think that work, was deeply implanted in me from a very early stage of therapy with you. And I think that really combated that those negative feelings about myself to a large extent. Obviously, I think that there's a critical eye, and there's generally a healthy critical eye. But it's far less than it ever was. In terms of the other extreme, where I'm thinking I'm fantastic, again, I don't think it's overly inflated. I think that maybe I could still do with a dose of humility, especially walking around, Romania. To be frank, being here, it's like, okay, so like I'll be super honest. It's like here, it's like there's a lot of people who don't have much education, so there's there's a feeling as you walk around going, oh God, like
Right.
frankly, like just being really, really, I probably sound like a complete snob, but like, but I end up feeling like a fucking snob because I'm like, seriously, sort your shit out. Like, stop dropping shit on the ground and stop, you know, speaking to a woman like that or whatever it might be. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then I end up feeling like I'm more than someone else, you know? And I really struggle with that idea because am I actually better than someone else because I don't drop shit on the ground because I have education, or because I don't let my trousers fall down around my ass crack when I sit in a cafe, or whatever else it might be, like,
Mm.
so for me, that's actually a constant struggle. So yes, there is still that thing where I'm like, you know, I have that automatic kind of judgment head. But you said something recently that stayed with me, and actually, it's good to be reminded of it now again. Is stop fucking thinking. You didn't say it in this words, but it's good for me to say it like this today. Stop fucking thinking about everyone else, and just mind your own business. And for the first few days after you said that, it really stuck with me. So I'm glad it's come back to me again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, one thing is for sure, one of the differences between you and those in your community around you who, at times behave in a way that has you ashamedly judgmental of them. One thing's for sure, you're luckier than them.
Luckier, yeah.
Yeah,
Time.
you're luckier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'd love to do is I'd like to just put this out to you for a thought for next day. In fact, 3 or 4 really good bullet points have come out of today, which I'm going to go and take note of after we finish speaking. And I'll bring them back to the session next time round. But when we look at your origins of that imbalance, very high or very low in self, and where you are, excuse me, and where you are now with that, I want to go back over and check what are your grounding activities. Let's talk next day about what keeps me grounded. What are my grounding activities that keep me in my lane, rooted to the ground emotionally? I'd like to just have a conversation with that at the top of next session. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'm going to bring our session to an end today. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Zach. Enjoy your time with your family.
And you too. And look forward to speaking to you next week. We will talk during the holidays. And you take care and have a good week.
You too. Thanks, Zach. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.
Disclaimer. The opinions expressed by our presenters are entirely their own. We believe in fostering an environment that values intellectual diversity, enabling our presenters to share their unique insights and viewpoints. It is crucial for our audience to recognise that the opinions articulated during the course of this programme are those of the individual presenters and do not reflect or represent any other individuals, agencies or organisations. If you wish to contact Zach Powers, please email him at bergenpsychological.com. If you wish to contact Stephen, please go to stephendaltonvo.com.